What's up, South Coast? Welcome to another groups video, another week of groups. Hopefully yours has been productive and helpful, and we're learning and growing together. And so we're in this series called Disciple, which has been one of my favorite series that we've done. There's so many different aspects of being a disciple that we can talk about. But this week, we talked about being a servant or serving. And so we're going to talk about a few things, get into all the questions, but just keep that in the back of your mind that that's kind of the aim that we're going towards. So the first question we have, at the beginning of a Sunday's message, my dad talked about how Muhammad Ali would claim that he's the greatest, or we see it now with LeBron James, he claims he's the greatest, or I'm a Seahawks fan, so Richard Sherman, if you remember the famous 49ers game, and he would say that he was the greatest corner in the game, right? And so a lot of times, but if we're honest with ourselves, we see these celebrities or these athletes that are just like top notch. But in us, there's a little bit of a desire, a little bit or a lot of it of a desire to be great. We want to be great. We want to be the best at what we do. We want to do everything that we do with excellence. So here's a question I have for you to kind of get the ball rolling. Do you think that our desire to be great comes from God? I think it's kind of a loaded question, but I think it'll be good for conversation. So do you think our desire to be great comes from God? Ready, set, go. So hopefully you got somewhere with that. And I think kind of maybe the way that we should lean is, I believe it's in John, Jesus talks about how if we seek personal glory, that's no good. But if we seek the glory of God, there's truth in that. And so hopefully that helps. But here's the next question that we have. In the book of James, James writes how God opposes the proud. Let's just talk about that. Why do you think God opposes the proud, but he loves if you're humble? So why does God oppose the proud? Ready, set, go. Okay, so hopefully you had a good conversation there. Why does God oppose the proud, and why does God favor the humble? It's good. We see that in the example of Jesus. Jesus wasn't proud. Jesus was humble, and so we can follow that. But here's the next one. In Matthew, I believe it's chapter 20, verse 16, Jesus talks about how the first shall be last and the last shall be first. What does that mean? So that's our question. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. What does that mean? What is Jesus talking about? If you want to open your Bibles, read kind of some of the context there and see if we can figure out what Jesus is talking about there. Ready, set, go. Okay, so hopefully you saw that verse is the very end of a bigger story that Jesus tells, a parable actually. And so reading the parable will kind of help inform that, but it would take too much time for me to get into that. So I'm going to go to the next question. And so hopefully your group leader helped you along with that one. So our last question, and I always like to do kind of a practical today, how does this apply to us type of question. So here's the question. In today's Western culture and the American dream and the kind of corporate ladder structure of society that we live in, how do we go to work with excellence, and how do we live in this corporate structure while being servants? So here's that's kind of the question. If you talk to anybody, they're pushing for a promotion. They're pushing to kind of climb their way up the corporate ladder. I guess you could start with saying, is that good or bad? But the bigger question is, how do we exist in that type of format while also being servants and serving first? So how do we do that? So have that conversation. For those of you that are in the business world, this should be fun. But even if you're not, it should be a good conversation to have. So how do we exist in that structure while being servants? Ready, set,